What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? This is a Gin podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I appreciate you. If this is your time, if you're returning, appreciate you returning. But this is in other news series. Basically, this series is all about topics that are around current events or just basically topics that I like to talk about. But on this episode, I'm going to talk about Kanye West and his deal with the Gap. And then I'm going to talk about how to start a podcast, just because if you are viewing this and you want to start a podcast, hopefully you can take this information and start one, because I know it's pretty cool. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's see. If you're wondering why I'm transitioning back and looking at the camera, I have a template that I kind of do because I forget shit, man. I forget shit a lot, and sometimes I talk about things and I kind of missed little points that I want to get across. So that's why I kind of do these templates. But man, Kanye West, this dude is crazy. He's very, very he's a genius, man. He's a fucking genius, because ever since he released his line, it's been very, very it's just very, very popular. A lot of people know about him. But even at like his him being relevant for 15 plus years, because I think his first album dropped in 2004, and for him being relevant, or him making music for that long, starting his own clothing line a couple years back, just him surviving for that long in the industry, to me, very, very successful. It's one, he's one of a kind. I know there's a couple albums that I truly, truly love. And he transitioned the music game too. If I know for a fact, there's a couple rappers or hip hop artists, whatever you want to call them out there, that if Kanye West didn't do an album or didn't do a song, they wouldn't be out there. They wouldn't be producing or singing or making music, whatever, just because he didn't make his shit. So shout out to him. He's a fucking genius, like I said. But there's only a few people that are around for that long. Like Drake, 10 plus years. You got shit, Jay-Z, fucking 20 plus years. I'm pretty sure he's been in the game a while. You know what's crazy too? Jay-Z's up there. Jay-Z's fucking up there. It's wild. They are two fucking moguls, two fucking idols of mine for sure. Because the way they run business, the way they carry themselves. I know Kanye West is a little iffy sometimes, because he's always on. Man, I remember like a couple years back, he would always go on some Twitter rants, and they would be fucking legit. But some of the shit he used to say is just crazy. But let's get back into this fucking Gap deal. So this Gap deal, to my knowledge, it's about 10 years, and I think he can renew after 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. Or I don't know, I don't remember. But he's also, well, I think the reason why they brought him onto the actual team is because Gap, if you don't know, runs Banana Republic and Old Navy. And I think they're kind of falling apart. Well, shit, who isn't? I mean, you got the fucking COVID knocking on the fucking door, busting in. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do it? You know what I'm saying? I think they had been struggling for a while too. But signed him and doing his thing. I think he's going to create a Yeezy line. I think it's Yeezy Gap, to be exact. And then also too, a couple accessories. But I think it's to make shit affordable, because I know his Yeezy line right now, shoes, his actual clothing line, it's pricey. I'm not gonna lie. It's I think there's a couple of sweaters on there for 300 plus. His fucking Yeezy boots, I think, are like 700 plus. Those are not exact numbers, but just we'll go with that. And he transitioned the game. He transitioned the game for sure. But I know off of the actual deal, he's getting royalties. I'm not too familiar with royalties. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But he's getting that. And I think he's also getting equity in the actual business. If I'm familiar with equity, it's basically just shares and stocks of the actual company, to kind of have that ownership of it. But I really want to know how much he fucking made off that deal. Or if it's just, I'm pretty sure it's over time, of course, because I think all deals are like that. Or maybe you got to fucking advance. Who fucking knows? But it's always good to, I mean, fucking Kanye West, why wouldn't you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be stupid. Not stupid. You just got to be, I don't know. You got to know what you're fucking doing. You know what I'm saying? But I think they also anticipate to in about 5 years when they get everything launched, to have about $1 billion in annual revenue each year. That's what they're anticipating, but I know the line is actually going to come out in 2021. So I think the fall of 2021. But I'm excited. Yeah, I'm truly am excited just because who wouldn't be? You know what I'm saying? Like when Yeezy first released his shoes, his I think his clothing line released after that. It was all hype. It was dope. It was something new, and I mean people love it. I love it. I mean that's honestly, I think if it wasn't, I mean I like shoes in general, but if it wasn't for kind of the Yeezy releasing, because I think that was the one of the first shoes that I kind of truly made some good fucking profit off, and then from there it just took off. But yeah, it's he's transitioned the game for sure. I think that's the fucking 10th time I said it, but man, who fucking cares? The reason why it's so crazy is because I think oh shit, not last year. I was gonna say last year. It was 2015. 2015, he talked about an interview that he wanted to be the Steve Jobs of Gap and shit. What did you know? He fucking signed a deal, but it's just kind of that speaking it into existence that I always talk about. It's just, it works. I do it. I say shit all the time, but a lot of people forget that speaking into existence, I mean, you gotta back it up with some hard work. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta put some fucking effort. Um, but that's my take on it. I know his business right now. I think the article I was reading before the fucking COVID hit, I think his business was about, I think it was worth about 3 billion, and his whole sneaker Yeezy line was doing about 1.3 billion sales for the year. I think this was 2019, so it's not accurate as 2020, but I mean, still a fucking $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? So all around, it's fucking dope, and I can't wait to see. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to see. It's gonna be truly, truly magnificent to see what this dude comes out with, because his shoes changed. Even when he was with Nike, um, he he transitioned the shoe that was very, very iconic. I forget what shoe it was, but it was very, very. I think the sole of this specific shoe is on the actual Nike Air Yeezy 2. So it's yeah, it's dope. Can't wait. Can't wait. Next topic, we got how to start a podcast. So something I'm all too familiar about. All too familiar about. Because hold up. But gotta grab my water. My shit is parched right now. Shit is parched. Hold up. I drink water like a fucking bitch. Nah, I don't even know who the fuck. I don't fucking know. But if you're not watching right now, the YouTube channel, if you're listening, go check out the YouTube channel because you can get the best of both worlds. Subscribe where you're at it. But let's get into it. So, how to start a podcast. You got different styles of podcasts. So you got, let me see, I got the fucking list right here. You got the interview style. So something like Joe Rogan, where you're one host and you got someone coming in every fucking podcast and you're just asking questions or just having a genuine conversation. So that's one style. You got solo, where it's just you and you're doing whatever you want to talk about, kind of like what I'm doing right now, but this is a mini series within the regular podcast. But nonetheless, it is still a type or a style of a podcast. What else? You got multiple hosts, so you can have 3, 4 hosts, and then y'all kind of all collaborate and talk about whatever the fuck y'all want. You got let me see. Oh, you got narrative and like storytelling, or even like a niche. So you got crime, you got baking, you got sports, you got boxing. So you can have these specific podcast topics or niches, and your podcast can be all about that. So that's another one. I think mine is kind of a hybrid and a collaboration of all those, because I like to just talk about anything. I like to interview people. I like to have multiple people on here and just discuss. Well, hopefully, because I know I got a couple mics up in here, but I have yet to actually get 3 or 4 people. So, well, I'm lying. I know I did a podcast with 3 people before, but I had to use the mic from one of my friends. So now that I have 4 mics, hopefully I can get some time in with a couple of people, so we can just talk bullshit or whatever. But Yeah, that's basically it. Those are the different types of styles that you can kind of get into and start your own podcast. But um, one thing that's I had to do my research on is the hosting website. So in order to have an actual podcast, you got to create an account for a hosting website. All it is just uploading your audio from your podcast or whenever you're recording to this specific website. From there, you just distribute it to the platforms. But to go into, you got what I use personally, honestly, is Buzzsprout. It's very, very seamless. Like I said, all you do is just make an account. You upload your audio, you name it, just put a description in it, whatever. And then you also distribute it to the platforms. Within the actual website, you have a directory tab. And from there, like I said, you have to submit your information to iTunes. And for Spotify and Google Podcasts, very, very seamless. I think once you upload it to your RSS feed, that's basically just where all your podcasts are connected to. Once you submit that, I think it's very, very automatic. But what gave me, yeah, it gave me problems. Well, Apple gave me problems because whenever I uploaded it, the cover art that it had was too big, I believe. Too big, too small. I don't remember, but I'm gonna go with too big. So I had to shrink it to the pixels, like width, length, whatever. But I had to shrink it to fit the actual cover art. If you're not familiar with cover art, that's basically just the picture you see whenever you looking at different podcasts on the different platforms. But there's a certain size you have to use. I believe it's the same for Spotify and actual Google Podcast, but don't fucking quote me on that. Um, but yeah, that gave me trouble. And then another thing too, fucking something that I made there where I fucked up is whenever I submitted my podcast to iTunes, they approved it, whatever, and then I tried to upload an episode, like my very first episode, and I ended up deleting the whole fucking the whole podcast on iTunes. So I had to resubmit it again. When I resubmitted it, luckily it took about 2 to 3 days, and yeah, I guess because all the information was already there, or I don't know, but luckily it took 2 to 3 days because I don't know if I already fucking said this, but it took about a week. It took about 2 weeks for the first time when I submitted it, and then after I submitted it, I had to They sent me an email saying, "Hey, you need to change your cover art because it's too big." And then from there, resubmitted again with the right cover art. Fucking got it deleted, and then 2 to 3 fucking days after, um, yeah, my shit was good to go. But lesson learned, lesson fucking learned. What I want to get into next is the type of equipment. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing a fucking crew neck right now, it's 69 degrees. No, I don't know if it's 69, but it's fucking cold. I got the fucking fan on too. So I don't know. Honestly, a little tangent right here, but honestly, I'm the person to wear black during the summer, long sleeve, sweaters, sweats all the fucking time year round. I don't know. That's just me. That's just the way I fucking roll. But we got cozy vibes up in here. Cozy vibes. If you're, again, if you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, hop over to YouTube so you can see what I'm fucking wearing, so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, equipment. So the camera that you're viewing me right now is a Sony A6400. To my knowledge, it's top of the line. But I think the main reason why I picked it is because the amount of research that I did for this specific camera kind of led me to it, just because the recording limit on it is infinite. So there's no recording time limit. As long as you have the amount of battery life and then the memory card space so you can actually save this shit. As long as you have that, there's no actual time limit. So the reason why I did it is because usually my podcasts are about an hour to an hour and a half. And yeah, I would hate for me to get a different camera and I would have to either pause or stop the conversation. You forget something, the other person that's here with you forgets something, and like, hope it might be a good topic and you just fuck up and you have to kind of deal with that. So this kind of saves me that time, saves me that annoying shit that I don't have to deal with. But I definitely recommend it. I mean, it's good. I mean, you're viewing it right now, so that's currently what I use. And then headphones, mic, and mic arm. I use Audio Technica. There is a podcast kit that I purchased. So it comes with the headphones, it comes with the mic, a microphone, and then it comes with the audio. That's the second time I said that. But let's see. I have it here because I just want to give the information out to you just in case you want it. But the headphones are ATH M20X. No idea, but that's the headphones. And the microphone is AT2035. So just Google that. I'm pretty sure you'll find out that it has a podcasting kit, and just run with it. Just run with it. It's a pretty dope. I think the microphone is mediocre. I think it's the quality, most of her, the quality of it is very, very mediocre. I think the ones that are top of the line, I'm not gonna say the name because I don't know how to pronounce it, but just know Joe Rogan uses it. Joe Rogan uses it, and then other popular people that do podcasts use it too. It's like 400 fucking bucks. I was like, hell no, for some fucking microphones. But yeah, that's that. And the next one is interface. So I started off with a very, very small interface. And the reason why I did it is because I was on a budget. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I quickly learned that you get what you pay for, honestly. And this transitions into pretty much whatever. But I liked it at first. It was dope. I got used to it. I knew what I was doing. But I actually knew about this before. But what I currently use is a Rodecaster Pro. Phenomenal device. Basically, what an interface is, it's the medium between microphone, headphones, and the computer. So it records. It's gonna have like sound pad shit, like for instance, shit like that, shit like this. Like there's a little sound pad on it. You can configure the actual volumes. You can configure the actual. You can mute people. You can make phone calls on it. So shit. Hopefully, I can make some fucking phone calls with somebody in the future. But yeah, it's basically just the shit I use to record the actual audio and then transmit it to my computer. Basically it. But I chose this one because it's very, very seamless. Very, very seamless. It works great with the actual software that I use. The one that I had before was very, very small, and it wasn't what I expected. But you live and you learn. So yeah, that's that. And next is just how to let's see the software that I use. Currently for audio, I am recording on Adobe Audition. I used to record on Logic Pro and shit. There's another one. I don't remember, but I used to I used to record on another one. Very, very. I think the first couple podcasts, but I quickly learned too as well. There's a shitload of stuff you gotta memorize, or you actually gotta learn. Adobe Audition for me is the smoothest one. Very, very seamless. They actually have like podcast templates that you can actually configure yourself and kind of have it the way you want it. But I thought that was dope too as well. And it's very, very inexpensive. I know for Logic Pro and there's another one I can't remember what it was. You have to like pay shit. I think Logic Pro is like $200, $300, some shit like that. But yeah, it's a very, very inexpensive. I think you can pay per month too as well. So I thought that was pretty dope. The shit that I use for video, Final Cut Pro is very, very my top. I'm starting to use Adobe Premiere. I dabbled into it. I did my research, watched a couple YouTube videos, but again, like Final Cut Pro, just because I've been using it for a while, it's I kind of know what to do. But Adobe Premiere, yeah, one of those things. Again, you got to learn how to use it. You got to do your research. So hopefully, I can start using that because I think they're very, very similar. Final Cut Pro and Adobe. But from my reviews, I think Adobe might be a little, well, the shit that I've seen might be a little better, but hopefully we find that shit out. That's basically it for the software that I use. And most of the stuff that I actually record, like for the video, I've been doing for myself. So the audio, I dabbled into it, like I said, with Adobe Audition, kind of changing shit up, making it sound nice. But most of it's been from my boy Jay. Jay, for watching this, shout out to you, dog, because you're a fucking beast with the audio shit. Best producer out there. Honestly, you're the only producer I worked with, so that's fucking yeah, that's funny. Let's see. You got what I want to talk about next is my experience. So what's pretty cool about the podcast is why I did it. So I've talked about this many times before, but I wanted to give information out to people because honestly, it's very, very hard to get information, especially you if you don't ask. Like for instance, if you ask somebody, you'd be like, all right, like let me help this dude out. But sometimes people are like, they don't give that information out because sometimes information costs money. And I've learned that too as well. But I wanted to put myself in a position where I can give information out to other people that can honestly use it, whatever it might be, motivation, shit that I'm talking about right now, how to start a podcast. Like I said, whatever it might be. So what what I've learned too is you got to figure out what listeners are attracted to and what kind of keeps them engaged. That's something I knew I was gonna struggle with, but you have to run with whatever you got, honestly. And that's not. Sometimes I have certain topics that I want to talk about, just because I feel like I'm very familiar with the situation, or the other person that I'm interviewing is very familiar with the situation, or sometimes I asked. I think this today, or yeah, I asked on fucking Instagram, like what kind of topics you want to hear, and some people hit me. So it's just shit like that. You kind of want to gauge what you want to talk about to the listeners. You can keep the listener coming back. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I had to learn too. Also, promoting your shit on social media. Definitely want to create a different account for like Instagram, Facebook. You want to create a Facebook page. Honestly, I'm gonna say Twitter, and I'm gonna create it. Now that I said this, I'm gonna create it. Hopefully, but yeah, create a Twitter account. You want to have that separate entity, just because. Yeah, hopefully, it's just always nice because you can keep your shit organized. You can keep your shit like, as far as your personal shit towards the business shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can keep that shit organized. But that's just my take on it. You also got the software. Guys, let me tell you, software, I think by far is one of the hardest things that I actually had to learn. The amount of time I spent on the audio part, on the video part, probably the video part a little bit more, just because it's a little bit more complex, is a lot. It's very, 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 like I said, you learn shit every fucking day. It's crazy, but it's one of those things where I want to produce the right thing. Like for instance, like I want to get dabble into everything. I want to get my hands onto everything, just because I want to come to a point where I kind of, like, let's just say, when I get, well, I'm gonna get big. So once this shit pops off, someone might overcharge me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, you know what? I know what the fuck I'm doing. Let me fucking save that money. I'll do it myself. It'll come out the way I want it. But then again, you kind of have to figure out, you gotta trust some people, just because they might have a better fucking portfolio than you do. They might know what they're fucking doing too as well. It all comes with just what you're comfortable with, honestly. So it's that's probably the most yeah, the hardest shit I had to do, learning the fucking software. There's so much software, so much. And it's all, like I said, it's all what you're comfortable with. It's like, at first, like I said, I was with Logic Pro, then I jumped to Adobe Edition. I first went from Final Cut Pro to Adobe Premiere. Like I'm transitioning, I'm getting to know everything, just because shit, some things honestly I don't know, I don't know if Adobe Premiere does other things that Final Cut Pro don't do. I think they're very, very similar, but shit. Oh, we'll find out if one does something that the other one doesn't, and then I can transition to both of them. But that's yeah, again, very, very complex. But another thing too, like I said before, is a budget. You got to set aside a budget, just because if you don't have a budget, you're gonna go in not knowing how much shit costs. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously you want to invest in yourself and you want to put some time towards it. But I had a budget set and I went over that budget. I'm not gonna lie, just because, like I said, you get what you pay for. I wanted. Luckily, I'm in a position now to have the type of funds to pay for some of this, to pay for some of this shit, like the mics, the headphones, the fucking mic arms, the camera that I'm recording on, this fucking computer, this fucking interface. Like this all costs money. You know what I'm saying? It's not free. Like I said, luckily I have the funds to pay for some of this shit. But honestly, some people don't. Some people honestly don't, and I get it. I get it. So You can honestly start a podcast with a fucking computer. It doesn't even have to be a Mac. It can be a fucking Windows. It can be a fucking Chromebook. Something very, very small. You can put a fucking USB a microphone into your computer. Just hook that shit up. Put some headphones on. And use fucking GarageBand. And there you go. You got a fucking podcast. You can upload your audio to Buzzsprout for, I think there's a certain amount of storage you get from Buzzsprout for free until you upload a certain amount of space. Like, I mean, there's a certain amount of, how do I say this? Like, yeah, space, I guess. Like, obviously the fucking audio takes space, so there's a certain amount. There's a cap where if you pass that cap, you have to pay per month. Obviously, I think I've uploaded like fucking damn near 20 episodes, but yeah, there's it's very, very inexpensive once you do the free. Like, if you trust me, if you want to start a podcast, you definitely can. Like I said, there's a very, very inexpensive route. I just so happen to choose the fucking bougie route, so that's that. But use definitely Google, man. Google has taught me a shitload of shit. Like, literally, I think how I when I started off, I put how to start a podcast. Shitload of websites came up, hosting websites, the equipment, the fucking camera, the interface. Like, it's all there. Just because people have been doing it for years, for years, for years, for years, and that's something that people struggle with. Your ambition to learn the information is sometimes it's not there, and that's what you gotta work at. But luckily, I found that information out, and I'm here. But that is gonna be it, guys. Definitely want to keep this on two topics. Hopefully, one of these days I have a third topic. But I like the two topics just because it's very, very short, simple, sweet, and we get right into it. But like I said, if you're listening right now on Apple Podcasts, make sure to review that. Make sure to subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, yeah, appreciate you watching. Appreciate you taking the time. Go ahead and subscribe because I'm gonna pretty much upload all the videos that I can, and find out if that fucking like button is working. Still having trouble, so go ahead and click that like button. Again, I don't know if it's fucking working or not. And again, appreciate you fucking listening. I fuck with y'all heavy, 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 heavy. But yeah, this is the Gym Podcast. This is G Weezy 11. Until next time, peace.